More than 50 people injured in mosque blast at Jakarta High School. Carmagi brings destruction to Vietnam after killing 200 in Philippines. Hello, good afternoon, and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sahih and you're watching World Today. The King of Bahrain, King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, hosted His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia, at a state banquet held last night at the Sahih Palace. The royal gathering began with a private session for the royal family before the official proceedings, which included Quran recitations and speeches by both monarchs. Accompanying Sultan Ibrahim were Tengku Temenggung Johor, Tengku Idris Iskandar Al-Haj, Tengku Panglima Johor, Tengku Abdul Rahman Al-Haj, and Tengku Putra Johor, Tengku Abu Bakar Al-Haj, along with senior Malaysian officials. The visit marks Sultan Ibrahim's sixth state visit this year, following Singapore, China, Brunei, Russia and Saudi Arabia, and the first royal Malaysian visit to Bahrain since 1974, underscoring the strengthening of bilateral ties between both nations. More than 50 people have been injured in explosions during Friday prayers at a mosque in Indonesia, with authorities identifying a 17-year-old student as the suspected perpetrator. The incident happened at around 12:15 p.m. local time inside a school complex that housed the mosque in Kelapa Gading, a district in the capital, Jakarta. According to Indonesia's police chief, Litsio Sigit Prabowo, the victims, mostly pupils, sustained a range of injuries, including severe burns, while the suspect was also hurt. He added that an investigation into the incident is underway, including how the suspect assembled and carried out the attack. A bomb disposal team was also deployed to the state-run high school complex following the explosions to collect evidence and ensure there were no other explosive devices. A pupil at the school claimed that a homemade bomb had been brought in by a student who had often been bullied by other students. Other pupils told an Indonesian news outlet that the suspect was a loner who often made drawings depicting violence and who had been found lying on the ground following the explosion. A high-ranking Jakarta Metropolitan Police officer confirmed the presence of two objects resembling firearms at the scene. A minister who visited the scene later on Friday sought to dispel suggestions that weapons were present at site, saying what had been pictured turned out to be a toy gun, not a real gun. At least 5 people died in Vietnam after Typhoon Carmagi pummeled coastal regions with destructive winds and heavy rain following the storm's deadly passage through the Philippines, where it killed at least 200 people. The typhoon made landfall in central Vietnam late on Thursday, uprooting trees, damaging homes and triggering power outages before weakening as it moved inland. Authorities have warned of more heavy rainfall up to 200 millimeters in central provinces from Thanh Hoa to Quang Tri, and said rising river levels from Hue to Dak Lak could trigger flooding and landslides. In Gia Lai province, the typhoon left a trail of destruction along the coast, toppling trees, scattering shattered glass and roofing sheets, with residents gathering around generators to recharge their phones. Vietnam's Disaster Management Agency reported 7 injuries and damage to approximately 2,800 homes, while power outages affected about 1.3 million people. The government mobilized over 268,000 soldiers for search and rescue operations and issued warnings about potential flooding that could impact agriculture in the Central Highlands, Vietnam's main coffee-growing region. Traders, however, said that the rain had subsided and coffee trees remain unharmed. Wisma Putra has confirmed that no Malaysians have been reported affected by Typhoon Carmagi, which struck the Philippines earlier this week, causing widespread flooding and casualties. In a statement, the ministry said the Malaysian embassy in Manila is closely monitoring development as Tropical Storm Phoong Vuong, locally known as U1, is expected to enter Philippine territory. Filipino authorities warned the storm could intensify into a super typhoon by Saturday, bringing strong winds and heavy rain nationwide by Sunday. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has declared a state of national emergency after Typhoon Kamelgi left at least 200 people dead and dozens missing across the Visayas region. The Foreign Ministry conveyed Malaysia's condolences to the government and people of the Philippines and urged Malaysians in affected areas to stay alert, follow local advisories and register their whereabouts through the e-consular portal. Hamas has handed over another deceased captive's body from the Gaza Strip as part of the US brokered ceasefire agreement with Israel. The body of the deceased hostage was transferred into Israel on Friday and arrived at the National Forensic Institute for identification. Negotiations are also underway to allow about 150 Hamas fighters trapped in tunnels in southern Gaza behind Israel's yellow line to hand over their weapons and walk free. Meanwhile, United States President Donald Trump has said he expects a US-coordinated international stabilization force to be on the ground in Gaza very soon as part of his post-war plan for the enclave, which is still suffering a full-blown humanitarian crisis amid continued Israeli bombing. The president's projection came as the United Nations Security Council prepares to start negotiations to authorize a 2-year mandate for a transitional governance body and the stabilization force, which is supposed to protect civilians, secure border areas and train Palestinian police. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that any stabilization force must have full international legitimacy to support Palestinians in Gaza. Meanwhile, Turkey has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and 36 senior officials, accusing them of genocide and crimes against humanity in Gaza. The Istanbul Prosecutor's Office said those named include Defense Minister Israel Katz, National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, and Army Chief Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, alleging that Israel has carried out systematic atrocities against Palestinians. Israel rejected the move outright, with Foreign Minister Gideon Saar calling it a PR stunt by tyrant Erdogan, accusing Turkey of politicizing its judiciary. The charges also cite the bombing of the Turkish-Palestinian Friendship Hospital in Gaza earlier this year. Hamas welcomed the decision, describing it as a commendable step that reflects Turkey's solidarity with the Palestinian people. The announcement comes as a fragile ceasefire continues under the US-led peace plan, while Turkey seeks a role in the proposed International Stabilization Force for post-war Gaza, a move Israel strongly opposes. United States has formally removed Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara from its terrorism blacklist just days before his landmark visit to Washington. The move recognizes progress made under Shara's leadership following the end of 5 decades of Assad-era repression. The State Department spokesman Tommy Pigott said Syria's new administration has met key US demands, including cooperation on locating missing Americans and eliminating chemical weapons stockpiles. Once branded a specially designated global terrorist with a bounty on his head, Shara rose to power nearly a year ago after swift military campaign backed by Turkey and Gulf states. His upcoming White House meeting with President Donald Trump is seen as a symbolic turning point in US-Syria relations. Israel, however, has voiced concern over Washington's outreach, having launched multiple airstrikes in Syria since Assad's fall to curb the influence of regional rivals. Up next, Meta accused of profiting from scam ad. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has warned that Earth can no longer sustain a development model based on the intensive use of fossil fuels, calling for a global shift toward green energy. Speaking at a climate summit in Belém ahead of next week's UN climate talks, Lula urged nations to redirect all profits to fund renewable transitions, saying choices made now will decide humanity's success or failure in fighting climate change. He lamented that fossil fuels still make up 80% of global energy use, only slightly down from a decade ago, and blamed conflicts like the war in Ukraine for reversing progress on emission cuts. Lula also criticized world powers for prioritizing military spending over climate action. The summit, boycotted by leaders of major fossil fuel producers, including US President Donald Trump, drew backing from countries such as France, Spain and Kenya, which are pushing for a luxury air travel tax to make wealthier polluters pay more. Brazil, despite criticism over new Amazon oil exploration, has secured over $5 billion in pledges for a fund to protect tropical forests. Meta has come under scrutiny after internal documents reveal the company projected earnings up to 10% of its annual revenue, or about $16 billion from advertising linked to scams and banned products. For at least 3 years, Meta failed to curb fraudulent ads across Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp, including fake investment schemes, illegal gambling and banned medical products. According to the findings, on average, Meta's users were exposed to around 15 billion high-risk scam ads daily. While the company's automated systems flagged many suspicious marketers, only those with a 95% likelihood of fraud were banned. Others were charged higher ad rates as a penalty. In response, Meta spokesman Andy Stone said the figures were rough and overly inclusive, adding that the company has since reduced scam ad reports by 58% globally and removed over 134 million scam-related posts to date. Despite ongoing efforts, internal reviews found Meta's platforms were involved in 1/3 of all successful scams in the US, highlighting what critics call a major gap in digital advertising oversight. Denmark will ban social media use for children under 15, citing growing concerns over youth mental health. Under the new plan, parents may grant limited access for those aged 13 and above, allowing sections on certain platforms. The proposal forms part of a 14-point plan unveiled by Digital Affairs Minister Caroline Stagh-Olsen to strengthen online protection for minors, which has already secured majority backing in Parliament.
We have agreed on an age limit on 15 years of age, but with the opportunity for parents to consent from the age of 13 if they want their children and young people to be on the social media platform. Our clear recommendation to the parents is please don't have your children on these social media platforms before the age of 15.
Popular apps among Danish youth, including Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram and TikTok, will be affected once the law takes effect. Officials said the move aligns Denmark with countries such as Australia, which last year introduced similar restrictions for users under 16. A recent study found Danish children spend an average of 2 hours and 40 minutes daily on social media. Hundreds of flights were cancelled across the United States on Friday after the Trump administration ordered air traffic reductions to ease pressure on controllers working without pay amid a prolonged budget deadlock in Congress. The Federal Aviation Administration said flight operations would be cut gradually across 40 major airports, including Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, Houston, Newark, and Los Angeles. According to tracking site FlightAware, about 840 flights were cancelled Friday, with the worst disruptions at Chicago O'Hare, Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, Denver and Dallas-Fort Worth.
It's a blame culture. That's all I can say. Nobody takes responsibility for anything. So it's a big mess, and we have to deal with it.
It really stinks that the government is affecting travel like this. Everyone deserves to, be able to go on their flights, go on their way, visit their families. The holidays are coming up, and if this continues, this is going to end up being a big problem.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely gets worse. I mean, as controllers start to take time off, I can only imagine they're not getting paid. So that affects travel. For example, going down to Jacksonville, those controllers have a tendency to take off and get overwhelmed. So that affects all the travel going south.
The partial government shutdown, now entering its 6th week, has left thousands of federal workers unpaid or furloughed, crippling vital services ahead of the Thanksgiving travel rush. The death toll from the fire at a retirement home in Tuzla, northeastern Bosnia and Herzegovina, has risen to 13 after another victim succumbed to injuries. Hospital officials at the University Clinical Center Tuzla said more than a dozen patients remain hospitalized, including one on mechanical ventilation. Investigators have completed the on-site probe, with findings to be submitted to the Tuzla Canton Prosecutor's Office. Authorities confirmed that 7 women and 6 men, all aged over 67, were killed in the blaze. Preliminary reports show most victims died from suffocation and carbon monoxide poisoning. A day of mourning has been declared in Tuzla until Sunday, with the city government covering funeral expenses for the victims' families. James D. Watson, the co-discoverer of the DNA double helix and one of the most influential yet controversial scientists of the 20th century, has died at the age of 97. Watson's 1953 discovery with Francis Crick revealed the structure of DNA, unlocking the blueprint of life and ushering the modern age of genetics and biotechnology. Their work earned them the 1962 Nobel Prize in Medicine and laid the foundation for gene therapy, genetic engineering, and the Human Genome Project, which Watson later helped lead. His 1968 memoir, The Double Helix, offered a candid account of scientific rivalry and ambition, while also drawing criticism for its portrayal of colleagues, including Rosalind Franklin, whose X-ray data were pivotal to the breakthrough. In later years, Watson's legacy was overshadowed by controversial remarks on race and genetics that saw him ostracized by the scientific community. Despite his controversies, Watson's discovery of the double helix remains one of science's most significant achievements, transforming medicine and deepening humanity's understanding of life itself. Coming up, Matthew Davies back in the fray for Nepal game. Johor Darul Ta'zim JDT right back Matthew Davies has been recalled to join the national team's centralised training camp in preparation for their Group F match against Nepal in the Asian Football Confederation AFC Asian Cup qualifiers on 18 November. Davies was dropped from the previous 2 outings, both against Laos when Malaysia claimed a 3-0 away victory on 9 October and a 5-1 win at home on 14 October due to injury. The Football Association of Malaysia FAM said that Harimau Malaya coach Peter Klimowski has also called up Kuala Lumpur City midfielders Ryan Lambert and Alif Izwan Yuslan, as well as Terengganu centre-back Muhammad Ubaidullah Shamsul Fazili, who plays for the national under-23 side. FAM in a statement said Klimowski has also retained 24 players from the squad that defeated Laos away and at home. The 27-man Harimau Malaya squad will undergo centralised training from 10 to 17 November in preparation for the 18 November game against Nepal at the National Stadium in Bukit Jalil. Barcelona returned to the Camp Nou for an open training session on Friday as the historic stadium nears the completion of its renovation, with fans and players expressing their excitement ahead of the club's first match back at their iconic home. Fans flocked to the stadium for what was a test event, allowing 20,000 to witness the players return to the pitch. Others praised the progress of the renovation while noting that some elements remain unfinished. President Joan Laporta addressed the press, calling the stadium's redevelopment the most important project in the history of the club. Laporta also discussed the timeline for the stadium's first match, aiming for an end of November debut, but cautioning that the date is not guaranteed. While construction cranes still towered over parts of the stadium, the revamped Camp Nou offers fans increased capacity and modernised facilities. The club need 2 licenses which are anticipated to be permitted before the end of the year, allowing them to increase the capacity to 45,000 spectators for the second opening up in the entire lower 2 tiers. The construction is expected to be completed by the year 2027, when 105,000 will be able to watch matches there. Lee Soo-min, a 5-time winner on the Korea Professional Golf Association (KPGA) Tour, surged to the sole lead in the second round of the Singapore Open on Friday. The 32-year-old delivered an impressive performance at the Singapore Island Country Club, carding an 8-under par 64 for a 12-under total of 132 to take a 2-shot lead in the Asian Tour International Series event. Starting as part of the first group, Lee overcame an early bogey on the second hole by making 4 consecutive birdies between the third and sixth holes. He added 5 more birdies on the back 9, finishing the day in high spirits. There are 10 players tied for second place, all on 10 under par, including John Catlin of the US and Thailand's Sarit Suwanot. 3 amateurs have made the cut and will feature this weekend, with Singapore's very own Braden Lee having the most impressive round, cutting a 64 to take a share of 24th place at 7 under par. It was a full circle moment for Braden, who participated in the Beat the Pro Challenge at the 2017 Singapore Open, pitting himself against the likes of former world number 1 Adam Scott. Novak Djokovic cruised into the Athens ATP final with a 6-3, 6-4 victory over Yannick Hanfmann on Friday, and will meet Italy's Lorenzo Musetti in the final after he beats Sebastian Korda 6-love, 5-7, 7-5. After missing an early opportunity to break the German qualifier at 2-1 in the first set, Djokovic broke at 3-2 and won the set 6-3. In the second set, Djokovic dropped serve at 2-1 but immediately responded to level the score at 3-3. Djokovic broke Hanfmann again in the next game and held serve to win in front of a noisy, supportive crowd at the event, which this year took the place of the short-lived Belgrade Open on the ATP schedule. The 38-year-old Serb took 79 minutes to dispatch the German qualifier and will face a motivated Musetti on Saturday, who must win the final to secure a place at the ATP Finals in Turin. Musetti kept alive his Nitto ATP Finals qualification hopes by his fingertips, where he saved 1 match point en route to clawing past Korda 6-love, 5-7, 7-5. In a rollercoaster contest in Athens, Musetti saved 1 match point against Korda at 4-5 in the third set when he fired down an ace. The second seed went on to hold before he earned a crucial break of serve himself in the following game to clinch momentum and then seal victory. After his win, the Italian let out a roar and raised his fist to the sky. Musetti is chasing his third tour level crown and first since Naples in 2022. The 23-year-old has lost finals in Barcelona and Chengdu this year. Up next, Italy bets on nostalgia as luxury train travel returns. London's Carnaby Street dazzled its switch on its annual Christmas lights display on Thursday. Catherine Riccomini, Director of Marketing and Communications at Shaftesbury Capital, said the installation in the heart of Soho, a neighbourhood popular among tourists to the British capital, is designed to reflect the vibrancy, colour and the energy both of Carnaby Street and Soho, where they are located.
This year's display is an evolution of our sustainable Christmas lighting scheme. We've injected some bright jewel light colours, we've added more lights to the street, just to make sure we're always continually delivering something special and new to Carnaby Street.
The display, theme All Is Bright, was accompanied by fireworks and musical performances and an appearance by British beauty entrepreneur Charlotte Tilbury. Crowds could be seen cheering and singing along with the numerous choir performances that were on offer at Carnaby Street, which is famed for its shopping and dining options. With the touch of Agatha Christie film noir, glamour and Michelin star dining, Italy is looking to revive the luxury train travel experience with the La Dolce Vita Orient Express. The concept is born of a joint venture between Italy's Arsenal Group, France Accor and state rail operator Trenitalia. The idea is to revive the slow-moving glamour of mid-20th century rail travel, complete with polished brass, jazz in the lounge and staff on call for your every need. On board, passengers dine on menus created by 3 Michelin star chef Heinz Beck and drink wines selected in partnership with Vinitaly, the country's main wine fair.
So in the north, you will have a different menu than what we are doing, for example, in our Sicilian journey. But every plate is prepared in a proper way, in a perfect way, who is giving emotions.
Passengers describe the journey as exceptional and beyond expectations, praising the elegant interiors, curated service, and the feeling of being transported to another era. The operator also hopes that its elegant rail carriages with routes through Tuscany, Sicily and Dolomites will also fit with current trends in low-carbon transport and reducing air travel. But the cost of the experience is not for the faint-hearted. Prices start at about 3,500 euros per person for a one-night trip and rise above 12,000 euros for longer itineraries. In a modest kitchen tucked within her community in Ilorin, Nigeria, Iyabo Ahmed prepares cheese using traditional methods passed down from her mother. With more than 35 years of experience, Ahmed has built a livelihood around cheese making, a craft she inherited and never left behind. Iyabo's cheese is made from cow's milk, sourced from local breeders, and used to produce a range of dairy products including fura danunu, traditional ring made from fermented milk and millet, yogurt and cheese. But insecurity in the outskirts of the region has disrupted direct access to milk, forcing buyers to rely on middlemen. Iyabo said the freshness of the milk is what makes her cheese popular among buyers. While Iyabo supplies cheese to customers outside the region, local demand remains strong. Residents in Ilorin say the cheese is a staple in their daily meals. But in urban centres like Uyo, imported mozzarella has become the cheese of choice, especially in commercial kitchens. In the bustling markets of Kwara State, the centuries-old tradition of cheese making continues to thrive. Vendors say demand is also steady and sales are strong. Cheese lovers have so found creative ways to incorporate the product into their meals, frying it or adding it to soups and stews. That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, more than 50 people injured in mosque blast at Jakarta High School. Till then, I'm Sahih with Madani, Rakyat, Disantuni. Thank you for watching.